Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Good afternoon, hello, and welcome back to the latest episode of Musical Musings, airing every Wednesday at 1 p.m. We broadcast this program from Rajamachan University of Technology, Peranakan. This program will come to you in two parts. In the first part, I will introduce a song to you. I'll talk about its main themes. We'll also talk about the band or the person who sings it. We'll just discuss what the song's about. We'll discuss a little bit about the band, where they come from, what type of music they perform. And then we'll listen to the song. After that, we will analyze the lyrics, and we're especially going to look at anything that may be a little bit hard to understand. Any difficult vocabulary words, any sort of slang or idioms. An idiom is like a saying that we have in English. Anything like that that might be difficult. Then, after that, we will get to the news and the latest updates from the university as usual.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for Musical Musings. I come from America, and I'm an English teacher here at the university, Rajamachan University of Technology, Peranakan. So, for today's song, we're going to be listening to a song that's called The Chain, and that is performed by the band Fleetwood Mac. Now, before we get to the song, let's talk a little bit about this band. Those of you who are familiar with this program know that I like to do some older bands, some older music. And that's the case here again this time. This is an older band. It was formed in 1967, so that's a long time ago. What is that, about 56 years ago? 56 years ago. Long time ago. And believe it or not, they are still around, still performing. They don't have all of their original members, but they do still have some of them. Okay. So, again, the name of the band is Fleetwood Mac, and they've been around since 1967. Their name comes from the drummer, which is a little weird, right? Usually the drummer's kind of in the background with a lot of bands. Here, their name actually comes from their drummer. His name is Mick Fleetwood, and of course the name of the band is Fleetwood Mac. So it's Mick Fleetwood. Now, some people actually think that it also came from two of the other band members, John McVie and Christine McVie. They think that's where the Mick came from, the Mac, the Fleetwood Mac. It did not. John McVie actually joined after the band formed. It wasn't long after. He joined very early on, one of the first members to join, but the band name was already established before John McVie ever joined the band. So it was already Fleetwood Mac with no John McVie. So John McVie's name had nothing to do with the name of the band. And Christine McVie, she certainly had nothing to do with the name of the band because that wasn't even her name when she joined. She married John McVie, and so her last name changed to McVie. Her original name when she joined the band was Christine Perfect. I know, that's a funny last name, right? Perfect? That was her last name. Perfect. Christine Perfect was her name. Okay, so the name Fleetwood Mac comes from Mick Fleetwood, and he is the drummer in the band. All right, so as I mentioned, John McVie joined shortly thereafter. He's no longer in the band. In fact, he's the only original... Actually, I believe John McVie is still in the band, but because he was not one of the original members, I was going to mention to you that Mick Fleetwood is the only original band member, and that is true. Mick Fleetwood is still in the band, which it's a good thing since it's called Fleetwood Mac. He is the only band member who is original. But John McVie is almost original. He came in right after the band formed, and he is still in the band. Christine McVie is no longer in the band. She does actually work with the band a lot. I'm not sure if she still does, but she has. Her and John, she and John, excuse me, get my English right. This is an English program, right? Make sure you get your pronouns correct. She and John broke up. They are no longer married, but they still get along well enough so that they can work together. So Christine still works with the band, does a lot of their session work. That's like when you're in the studio recording. So she still records with them, does some work with them. At least she has until recently. I'm not sure about any more since the band has been around so long. But up until at least very recently, she was still doing that. So she still works with the band, but she doesn't perform with them. She's not out on tour with them. So she's no longer like officially considered part of the band since she doesn't perform with them live. All right, so as I said, Mick Fleetwood is the only original member, although John McVie did join shortly thereafter. So Mick and John, like I said, are still in the band. But there were two others who joined the band a little bit later on, and they were very key members. The band really did not become all of that popular until these two members joined. Those two members are Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. So Lindsey and Stevie, both of those could either be girls or boys' names, so it's hard to tell. If you don't know the band, it's hard to tell which one's which here. Lindsey Buckingham, that's a man, and Stevie Nicks is a female, and they were both singers in the band. They were performing together as a duo. They were also together as a couple. They weren't married, but like John and Christine were together, Lindsey and Stevie were also together. They have both also since separated, and that one's a little more acrimonious. That means they don't get along as well, so they don't really have as much to do with each other, so Lindsey kind of just left. And he doesn't really perform with the band much anymore. He does do a few things. Every once in a while, you'll see him pop up with the band if it's some special occasion. But Stevie Nicks is still with the band today. So even though she's not an original member of the band, she's considered a very important part of it. Like when people think of Fleetwood Mac, they usually think of Mick Fleetwood and Stevie Nicks. That's who they think of. Because, again, Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks came along and kind of made the band popular. It was popular enough so that they managed to get Lindsey and Stevie to go join them, I guess. So I guess it wasn't an unpopular band, but it really wasn't that big. It really became big when Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham joined. Now, Stevie actually left as well. I told you Lindsey left. Stevie did leave for a while as well. But she is back now. She performs with them now. So I don't know if I should say that she's still with the band since she did leave. But she's back with the band again. All right, so I said that it got really popular when they joined. So when was that? The band was around since 1967. It really peaked in the mid-70s through the mid-80s, like around 75 to 85, something like that, 1975 to 1985, roughly. They were still quite popular a little bit after that. Some people will put their really strong popularity lasting a little longer, closer maybe to 1990, something like that. But it's basically the mid-70s through the mid-80s, roughly. And Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham joined in 1974. So you can see that they're right there, right before the band became popular. So they really were a big part of the band becoming popular. In fact, I have to tell you, Stevie Nicks is probably the most popular member of the band. Most people that go to see the band, they love Stevie Nicks. I personally have seen the band in concert, and indeed, the crowd goes crazy for Stevie Nicks. Everyone loves her. Okay, so as far as where this band comes from, it's actually a combination band. It's a British-American band. It actually started as a British band. Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, Christine McVie, they're all British. But Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks are American, which is kind of interesting because Lindsey Buckingham has a very British name. The name Lindsay for a guy is kind of more British sounding, and Buckingham, that's the name of one of the palaces in Britain, Buckingham Palace. He has a very British name, but Lindsay and Stevie are American. So it's a British-American kind of combination band. All right, so one last thing about the band before we get to the song is, I like to talk about, and I kind of don't like to talk about what genre of music a band does. The reason I don't like to talk about it is because there's a lot of crossover. As well, there should be. I explain this in many of my episodes, that music is art. You shouldn't be locked into one genre. If someone wants to combine heavy metal with classical music, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's art. Be creative. So there's really shouldn't even be any such thing as genres, but we have them. We have groups that we can put songs and bands into. Now, I don't mind talking about genres of music as much with Fleetwood Mac because they're mostly into one specific genre. They're pretty much classic rock. As early as they formed back in 1967, they are probably, as far as when their peak was, lasting well through the 80s. They might be a little bit later in the spectrum of what we consider classic rock. A lot of the classic rock songs are from the 1970s. And they do have a lot of songs from the 70s. The song we're doing today is from 1977. But again, they were really popular well through the 80s. So they might be towards the later end of classic rock. But I would still say that that most people would probably classify them as classic rock. Again, I say most people. It's subjective. We shouldn't even have genres for music. But we do. And that's probably what you'd call them, is classic rock. All right, so let's get to the song. The song came pretty early in their peak. Like I said, they started peaking around 1975, shortly after they added Lindsay and Stevie. And this song, called The Chain, comes out in 1977. So at that time, because Lindsay and Stevie were there, this was basically the core group. This was Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, Christine McVie, Lindsey Buckingham, and Stevie Nicks. That was the band. That's when they were the most popular. They've had some people come and some people go. That's when the band was at their most popular. Okay, so the lyrics talk about breaking the chain. So what does that mean? What's that about? It's about breaking up. Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks broke up, as I mentioned before. John and Christine McVie broke up. I also mentioned that before. So this song actually talks about never breaking the chain, but it's about someone saying that. Someone saying they will never break the chain. So it's about lying. It's about a bad relationship and breakup. So it's very interesting that they're able to write this song, perform it together, and for it to be so popular, because this song is about them and breakups and lying to each other and things like that. This is not a fun, happy song. I mean, it's a great song. I think you'll like it. It has a really cool riff to it at the beginning. But it's not a fun song, and you would think that they wouldn't want to sing it together. But for these guys, for this band, really, the music came first. That's why, like I said, Christine McVie still performs with them sometimes. Well, she doesn't really perform, but she still helps them out a lot, actually, like in their studio session work, things like that. So she's still there, even though John is still part of the band, and they're broken up. She still goes in there. Even Lindsay goes in once in a while. Not very often, but it's been more than once. It's not like, oh, they got together one time for some special event, and that's it. No, Lindsay's been back with them, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times. It's been several times that he's come back with them. So Lindsay goes back with them, even though Stevie Nicks is still there. So they really put their music first. They were able to do this song even though it's about breaking up and it's about them. So when you think about this song, you should think about a chain. In each little connection, we call those links, each little circle that's, or whatever you want to call that shape, each little circle that's in a chain, those are links in a chain. We call those links. And you think about them, they're very strong, right? A chain is very strong, heavy metal chain, strong, very hard to break. But if you were to break the chain, the metal just comes apart. So it's basically impossible to put it back together. So that's kind of what the meaning of the song is. So, you have this really strong bond, but once you break it, that's it. It's over. You're done. You're done. In fact, you'll hear in one of the verses. Actually, it's I'm trying to think if it's part of the chorus there. I think it's part of the chorus, actually. It says, "If you don't love me now, you'll never love me again." Because that's it. Once you break the chain, that is it. It's over. All right, one last point about the band before we move on. It's just an interesting little point about the band, and to show you how popular it is. I believe it might have, I don't think it was his inauguration. I'm not sure what it was for, but the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, had a special event, and he wanted Fleetwood Mac to perform there because he really liked them. And for that concert, Lindsey Buckingham had already left. He actually came back to perform with them. So it was the original, well, again, not the original, but it was the band. It was the most popular members of the band. It was such a big deal, it made like national headlines that, ooh, Fleetwood Mac is getting back together for this concert. It was really a big deal. That's how popular this band was. It was one of the most popular bands of its time. All right, so let's get on to the song now. As always, if you're joining us through YouTube, you'll have to click on the link in the upper right so that you can jump to the video, and you can jump back here after the video's over. For anyone else, if you're listening on streaming or the radio, the music should come up just fine for you. So we will go through the song, and we will go through the lyrics of the song after we listen to it. So here we go. Let's get to this great song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Okay, welcome back. All right, so this song is about breaking up. Again, so you'll notice with this song they repeat a lot. They repeat. They repeat the chorus several times. And if you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I can still hear you saying you will never break the chain. They repeat that over and over and over and over and over again. So that's why we had kind of a long first part to our program, because this second part for our program is going to be a little bit short. The lyrics are kind of short for this song. So let's get right to it. So we start out, listen to the wind blow, watch the sunrise, run in the shadows, damn your love, damn your lies. Okay, so what does that mean? All right, listen to the wind blow and watch the sunrise. Not really sure exactly what that means. Probably it's the morning. We're talking about two people who are together, but they're going to break up, so it's probably in the morning, so they're together, they're in the same bed, waking up together, watching the sunrise. But then they're talking about running in the shadows. All right, if you're running in the shadows, what that phrase means is it means you're usually trying to hide from something. We use that term more often with criminals. Criminals run in the shadows, they don't want to be seen. Shadows, that's where it's dark. You probably know what the word shadow means, but if you don't, it's like the dark area when the sun is out, but you can't, but it's dark because there's something in the way, like a building makes a shadow or a tree makes a shadow, something like that, like you might sit under a tree when it's really hot out. We also call that shade, but it's the shadow of the tree. So it's dark, it's hard to see. People can't see you. They can't see what you're doing. So you're being secretive. That's what running in the shadows means. It means you're being secretive. So this person is probably running around cheating on their boyfriend or their girlfriend. That's what that's referring to, running in the shadows. And that's why it says, damn your love, damn your lies. Okay, and then we get right to the chorus. Like I said, we repeat the chorus many times in this song. And if you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I can still hear you saying, you will never break the chain. Okay, so if you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I explained that in the first part. And that's why the song is called The Chain. It's a really strong bond. I mean, these guys did everything together, right? They're members of the band together. So they're traveling together. They're writing music together. They're singing. They're performing together. So they work together. They live together. They're together all the time. They have this strong bond, always with each other. And so once it breaks, that's it. That's it. If you don't love me now, the chain is broken. If you don't love me now, you're never going to love me again, because that's it. That's it. It's never going to come back. And it's also about lying to one another. I think we can probably all relate to that. No, I mean, not necessarily lying, but either maybe it is lying. I don't know. But a lot of people, most of us have been through a breakup in our lives. And as you get kind of near the end of the relationship, maybe you still have feelings, you still kind of want it to work. And so you're still saying things like, I love you, but you're not really sure if even you really believe it anymore. Or maybe the other person's saying it to you and they don't believe it anymore, really. And so that's what it's talking about here, when it says you would never break the chain. I can still hear you saying you would never break the chain. In other words, I will love you forever. So you're still saying that, but you're having second thoughts. You're not really sure how you feel anymore. You've kind of grown apart a little bit, but you still have feelings. You're still trying to make it work. So you're still saying the words. You're still saying, oh, yes, I'll love you forever. We'll be together forever. But you're not really sure you believe it anymore. And so you might still say it to your partner, even though you don't believe it. So is that lying? Well, I guess it really is, but you may not mean it that way. You may not mean it as a lie because you're still trying, you're still hoping, you still have feelings, you're still working on it. But for the other person, which is what this is from the perspective of, because it says, I can still hear you saying it. So from the perspective of the other person, they hear you saying this, and then you break up. So to them, that's like a lie. That's like you lying. So this is like a lie to them. Even if you didn't mean it that way, even if you didn't mean it to be a lie because you were still hoping it would work out, still trying to make it work out, they think it's a lie. So this is kind of an angry song. I can still hear you saying you would never break the chain. So they're angry at their partner, or now their ex, I guess, because they've broken up. So they're angry at them for lying to them about loving them forever. Okay, then we repeat the chorus. And we get to the second verse. And again, there's only 2 verses. Very short lyrics here. And in fact, the second verse is kind of similar to the first verse. We have listen to the wind blow again, then down comes the night. So now we're at the nighttime instead of the sunrise. And we have running in the shadows, damn your love, damn your lies again. And then it says break the silence, damn the dark, damn the light. So now what does that mean? Well, that one's a little harder. I always tell you that sometimes the way they write the songs, it's kind of up to you to interpret. Most songwriters don't like to tell you the meaning of their songs because a song can have different meanings to different people. They want you to interpret it. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure what it means here, except that I think what it's saying here, because it says break the silence right after it says damn your lies. It says running in the shadows, damn your love, damn your lies. Break the silence, damn the dark, damn the light. So it says, break the silence right after damn your lies. I think what it's saying here is just be truthful. Break the silence. You were lying to me before, saying, oh, I'll love you forever. And now it's just silent. You're not telling me anything. Break the silence. Tell me what's going on. We'll be much better off if we're honest with each other. And that's generally true. If you think about a relationship that's breaking up, you should probably just do it. But that's not always easy, right? That's not always easy. You may still care about the other person. You don't want to hurt their feelings. You try to stick around too long, whatever. It can be hard sometimes. Most people, throughout their whole lives, do not marry the first person they fell in love with and stay with them for their entire lives. It happens to a few people, but very few. So most people go through this. Most people in this world get into a relationship and it doesn't work out at some point in their lives. I have certainly had several myself. I'm in one now, which I hope does work out. But I've had several that did not, and that's true for most people. So what I think this is saying when it says break the silence is just be honest. This happens. These things happen. And, this is also probably why this is basically the end of the song. They do get into the chorus again, and they repeat the chorus, I believe, 3 times. And if you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I can still hear you saying you would never break the chain. They repeat that like 3 times. But as far as the verses, that's it. That's the last line. Break the silence. Damn the dark. Damn the light. That's the last line. I think that's probably why this band was able to kind of stay together and work together. Because they're basically saying, you know what? Just be honest. And if you're honest, you can probably work through things. You can, when you separate, maybe you're not going to be friends because you're too upset with one another, but at least you can, get along with one another, tolerate one another. So if you're in a work environment like these guys are making music, they can still work together. In fact, when Lindsay left, it largely wasn't because of this. I mean, this was related to it, the breakup with Stevie. It was certainly part of it, but it wasn't the only reason he left. He stayed there for a while, working on music. In fact, as I mentioned, this song came out around the time that the breakups were going on. So he stayed with them for a while after that. So, it's not like they left because of this. And as I mentioned, Christine McVie still works with them now. She doesn't tour with them. She's not officially a member of the band, but she still works with them. So I think they're trying to end this song here with a positive message about breaking the silence. Be honest. So it's kind of a sad, angry song, but they try to end it there on kind of a, I don't know if I want to say it's really that much of an upbeat note, because it says damn the dark, damn the light after that, and then they repeat the chorus 3 times, which is fairly angry, because the chorus ends, I can still hear you saying you would never break the chain. So I'm not sure they're trying to make it really end as a kind of a happy song, but they're at least trying to provide some positivity there, I think. That's my interpretation. Again, it's a little hard to interpret that line. That's my interpretation of break the silence, that they're telling you to be honest. All right, so that's the song. As I said, the lyrics are pretty short. The song isn't that short because it repeats a lot of times. So when you listen to the song, you probably thought it sounded like a pretty normal length. It's about 3 to 4 minutes. Pretty average length. Some songs these days have gotten a little longer, 5, 6, 7 minutes. I mean, there were some songs back then that were that long, but they were less common. Most songs back then were about 3 to, at most, 5 minutes, and I think this is 3 to 4 minutes long. So pretty normal length song, but in terms of the lyrics, it's very short. Okay, so that's one reason with the short lyrics why it was so popular. I can tell you right now that I've already got the song planned out for next week, and it's going to be similar. We have a normal length song, but the lyrics are again going to be kind of short. They repeat a lot. It's a little longer than this one. We have more lyrics than this, but it's still kind of short. And that's one reason that's one reason it made it so popular. It's very catchy. It's very catchy. That chorus, I've already sung it to you several times here during the program. And if you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I can still hear you saying you would never break the chain. And there's a little riff that goes along with that, with the guitar. That's really cool. It's really catchy. Really catchy. The bass line there that they have, that's really a catchy riff with the bass. So it's really easy song to listen to, and it got really popular. And in fact, in Rolling Stone magazine, they did a rating of the best Fleetwood Mac songs. It wasn't a rating that they actually did. They actually did a poll. They asked the public, what's your favorite Fleetwood Mac song? This song was number 1, which actually kind of surprised me. I didn't realize this was the most popular song. Usually, for me, my taste in music is a little weird. My favorite song by a band is usually not the favorite song by a band. In other words, the public's favorite song. For example, last week we did The Page by Turn the Page by Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. And that is not their most famous song. Against the Wind probably is, but it's my favorite song. This is a rare case where my favorite song is most people's favorite song. The Chain is my favorite song by Fleetwood Mac, and it is the public's favorite song. They do have some other really good songs, though. Like I said, they've been around a long time. They've written a lot of music. Rhiannon is another really great song. Most of the songs, it seems like, one of the guys do the lead singing. Rhiannon is Stevie Nicks doing the lead singing on that. So she does do a lot of singing, don't get me wrong. But a small majority, I would say, of the songs, the lead singers are the men. So Rhiannon has Stevie Nicks as the lead singer, so that's really cool. That's a really fun song. So I would recommend you go listen to some of their other music. Go Your Own Way is another really popular song by them. Landslide, Dreams, those are some other popular songs. So go check them out. Go check out more of their songs. Again, it's Fleetwood Mac. Go onto YouTube, search them, look up some more of their songs. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for today's Musical Musings episode. Stay with us and tune back in next week for another great song. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Musical musings, musical musings, musings.